Hello and welcome to another Which is Greater?
Today we're taking our skirmishing to a whole new level.
With some skirmish games.
Exactly. I'm looking at the masterful miniatures of Games Workshop's Shadespire.
That says Nightvault on it.
Okay, well technically Shadespire and Nightvault are both Warhammer Underworlds.
So you're actually looking at Warhammer Underworlds?
Yes. But who calls it that? I know it as Shadespire, or maybe Nightvault.
Well, I'm looking at a game that knows what it is. War Chest.
Yeah, it knows it's boring.
Hey, it's war in a chest. It's the very definition of exciting.
Ooh, just look at all that war.
War Chest sees 2 or 4 players battling over...
A bland hexagonal grid?
Okay, let's make one thing clear from the start. War Chest is an abstract game. No overpriced minis, no special artwork, just the gameplay and some lovely tokens. Yet, it still has the sense of a battle, as you'll see if you're patient.
I'm patient. I'm painting very reasonably priced minis. Full of patience.
In War Chest, you'll be fighting for control of key points on the board.
Taking control is as simple as reaching the spot and performing an action.
But as you'll see, nothing is ever that simple in War Chest.
Shadespire is all about killing things. I mean, Nightvault. Or Underworlds.
You and your faction of burly fantasy characters will swarm across this beautiful hex board.
And clobber one another in the face! But wait, it's also about sneaking onto the objective hexes.
And holding them until the end of the round.
A tough challenge with an enemy breathing down your neck. But wait, it's actually about scoring your hand of objective cards.
Whether that's claiming a particular objective, defending territory, or any number of special conditions.
Turns out there's a bit more subtlety to Warhammer Underworlds than you'd expect.
What's with the hammer?
It's my Warhammer, Robin. Look, it even has war written on it.
That's not a Warhammer. There's not nearly enough skulls on it.
Good point. Oh, where did I leave my skulls? Ah. Much better.
That's not what I meant.
Nightvault uses exactly the kind of mechanics you'd expect. Activate a model and move it. Trigger an attack to roll some dice and try and wound your opponent. Ooh. Or combine both at once for the always exciting charge move. Shouting your personal war cry as you do so is encouraged. Please like and subscribe! However, after doing a move or charge, you'll have to place one of these tokens on that unit. For the rest of the round, they won't be able to move, and if they charge, they won't even be able to attack. Use it wisely.
The objective is right there, Matt.
Yeah, it's just... Did you see how far I just ran?
What are you doing?
Just gonna sit down. Each round, you'll get 4 activations, and after 3 rounds, the game is over. That means a single character will only get to move 3 times. That sounds insane.
With a large faction, not even every model will activate, whereas with fewer than 4 models, those movement limits really start to bite.
Never has the idea of making your actions count been more appropriate, and that's fantastic. And it even feels slightly thematic. So each round is like a moment in time, where each character can move and act within it, but only to a limited degree. In universe, then, the battles are brutal, like over before they've even begun.
Which is exactly how this episode's discussion should go. Come on now. War Chest is a Euro game. They're obviously better.
It's actually a bag building game. All of the poker chips that represent your units go into your bag, and you'll draw 3 at the start of each round.
You'll then alternate using these chips to perform one of several actions.
You can either add the chip to the board, thereby spawning a new unit at one of your control points, or if you've already got one of those units on the board, you stack it on top to increase the number of wounds it has.
No, that doesn't work.
But the most important use of these chips is activating the matching chips on the board.
Discard the chip and you'll be able to move or attack with the unit, or capture a control point you're on top of. Some units have special actions or attacks that can be triggered instead, like the archer shooting an enemy at range.
However, once you've added one chip to the board, you only have one other chip left in the bag to activate it with. Is that enough?
No chance. That's why one of the other things you can do is discard any chip to buy a new one to add to your supply.
Once your bag is empty, your discarded chips get put back in to be drawn again, and it's at this point that any new chips you bought come into play. It's a satisfying action economy that draws on everything we love about deck building.
That they're all about playing your own game?
No! It lets you massage the probabilities of your deck, or in this case bag, so that you focus on a particular strategy, which gives this tactical skirmish a longer term arc.
Longer term arcs, hey? How about an arc that lasts between games? What?
Alongside your miniatures, factions come with a unique set of action and objective cards.
Between games, you can choose which of these to bring with you into your next game. It's a little taste of the deck construction you might see in Magic the Gathering, or army building in classic Warhammer, without going to the extremes of either of those two games.
The action card deck offers up a set of power and upgrade cards. At the end of each activation, you can play these to tweak the current board state, possibly giving you that extra space of movement or letting you react immediately to events on the board. The upgrades, meanwhile, make particular characters in your force even better.
This is one of the great things about Underworlds. The fixed units of your faction are all named and often have specific roles in your squad. It lets you build a relationship with them through play, both those of your faction and your opponents.
I know the candle-wielding ghost Varklav the Cruel is a major threat, so dealing with him, becomes an added focus for any battle in which I face them.
This just adds depth and story to the experience. That time Averron Stormsire slaughtered 3 enemies in a row, or the fact that Rastus the Charmed always seems to die first. There's just so much to explore in this system, and that's before you add in the other factions that now exist for the game. And yet it works just as well as a pickup game between two friends without worrying about the deck construction. It's as deep and complex as you want it to be.
But what Matt hasn't told you is that each new faction is an expansion set to buy.
I don't have a problem.
War Chest comes with all the variety you could hope for in a self-contained board game. Each of these stacks of chips is its own unique unit with its own special tweak that completely changes how you and your opponent interact with it.
The swordsman can move after making an attack, which means no one ever goes close to them. The crossbowman can only shoot 2 spaces in a straight line, and only if no friendly unit is in the way. When you buy the mercenary, you can immediately maneuver them.
There are 16 of these, only 8 of which will be in any given battle. That's a solid amount of game to explore, but it's the combination that really multiplies the experience.
Experienced players can use a drafting variant when selecting forces.
But it's just as fun to take a random force and discover what works, or try out one of the historical scenarios.
Historical scenarios?
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Okay, 1, it's abstracted, and 2, that's not even the right battle. War Chest sweeps aside any real characters, even any attempt to emulate army compositions, to give you a surprisingly good feeling for being a battlefield general.
The randomness of the token draws creates a feeling of limited communication.
Sometimes your units won't act when you want them to, and that also adds a thrilling fog of war to proceedings.
War Chest comes with a smoke machine?
No, I'm talking about not knowing where your opponent's next move will come from. In fact, there's a lot of subtlety here.
For instance, you can see your opponent's discards, so you can make some guesses as to what they might have in their hand. But tokens spent to buy new units are placed face down, keeping things unpredictable till the end.
Yeah. Underworlds is not especially subtle.
No.
But the interesting unpredictability of War Chest starts to diminish as the game goes on. You simply don't buy as many new units towards the end of the game.
True.
And there's a more important problem with its arc. Stalemates.
Any attack results in a dead chip, permanently removed from the game. Once you're down to just 1 chip of a type, that unit can never move because you'll never draw a matching chip to activate it.
But that means it's perfectly possible for games to end in null states where neither player can push the game over the line to victory.
We've never had that case, though.
Only because I'm so much better than him at it.
That's not true.
Warhammer Underworlds has its own problems, like random dice combat or take-that style card play.
Those aren't problems. You should be expecting it from this style of game.
Yes, to an extent. But you don't roll the dice enough over the course of a game for the averages to work out. You can literally have an army of 3 models, and if you have one instance of bad luck at the start of the game, it has a huge impact.
Well, War Chest has these moments too, when you really need one unit to activate before its opposing number. That comes down to luck of the draw.
And who has the initiative, something players have control over.
And how you've stacked your bag. You try to time these situations for when your bag is nearly empty and you know you've got that unit in there.
That's not necessarily better though. For one, the dice are more exciting, and you choose when and where to take these big risks.
Clever positioning mitigates it too. Surrounding your target with friendly units improves your chances when you make the attack.
Yes, luck is present, but that's all part of the excitement.
Ultimately, we're talking about 2 different design philosophies.
And there's nothing fundamentally better about either approach.
And that applies to the visual aesthetic too.
There's a minimalist elegance to War Chest, not the over-the-top nonsense of Warhammer.
Yeah, it is totally over the top. And that kind of distracts from the depth that Underworlds offers. I mean, you've got all the different faction matchups, a deck construction game to explore.
Yeah, but War Chest has more variability out of the box.
Yeah, and that is also fun to explore. But it's not nearly as rich as Shadespire.
Perhaps. If you've got a group of people to explore it with.
Sure, but I mean, it's cheaper, which is a phrase I never thought I'd associate with Games Workshop, and I'd argue deeper.
You have the capacity to outplay an opponent through clever positioning within an incredibly tight time frame.
While between 2 equally good players, War Chest is more likely to run into those stalemate scenarios. And that's why Shadespire is greater.
You mean Warhammer Underworlds?
Exactly.
Games Workshop must really be back now that it's won a gold and greater.
There is no greater prize in board gaming.
Really? What about the Spiel des Jahres? Or the Golden Geeks? Or the Dice Tower Seal of Approval?
Okay, maybe there's 1 or 2, but I'm sure we're just a few subscribers away from such notoriety.
So everyone should subscribe.
Exactly! And share the video widely.
See you next week.